Welcome. I'm Jeff Clayton. I'm the Interim Director of Astronomy at Murray Mitchell Association. This event is This event is sponsored by two organizations on Nantucket that are really interested in keeping our skies dark, the Murray Mitchell Association and Nantucket Lights. And as you may know, we have some of the darkest skies on the East Coast of the United States. And we want to keep it that way because we can see the Milky Way, which most people never see. So I'm very happy to welcome our speaker tonight, James Lowenthal. I'm just going to read a little bit about him here. He's the Mary Elizabeth Moses Professor of Astronomy at Smith College. He received his bachelor's from Yale and his PhD from the University of Arizona. He leads the local advocacy group Northampton City Lights and the Massachusetts chapter of Dark Sky International, chairs the Light Pollution Subcommittee of the American Astronomical Society's Committee for the Protection of Astronomy and the Space Environment, and is president of the International Astronomical Union's Commission on Site Protection, which means the sky. So, James.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Nantucket Lights and Murray Mitchell Association for getting us all together. I don't know how many of you already know this, so sorry if I'm repeating this for most of you, but the Murray Mitchell Association, this famous august association that's so embedded in Nantucket culture and history, and so many of you have probably come in contact with Murray Mitchell Association in some way or another. I don't know if you all know that it started with this famous astronomer. We astronomers all know this part, and we don't know the other part. We don't know about the aquarium and the biologist. We all know about the astronomer Murray Mitchell, who was born here in Nantucket, and at the tender age of 29, discovered a comet in 1847 that made her famous. And she later became an astronomer at Vassar College and worked for the U.S. Naval Observatory, predicting the positions of Venus, and was one of the first women employed by the U.S. government in that role. And lots of firsts. I mean, many, many, many firsts. And to this day, astronomers, if they're lucky, as undergrads, get to come to Nantucket to work in the Murray Mitchell Association on research projects at the observatory on Vessel Street, just a few blocks from here. So it's really got this great history for us astronomers, and it's so much more than that today. And more on Nantucket Lights shortly, which is equally important in the discussion of saving Nantucket's night skies. One of my absolute favorite things to do is take people out under clear, dark skies and just lie down in a field. And here I'm doing that up on a hilltop in Heath, Massachusetts, near the Vermont border. And I don't know if you can hear it. I can't hear it myself. You know what? I think we don't have sound on the TV, but it doesn't matter. We were listening to coyotes calling, and we were watching the Milky Way wheel overhead, and we were seeing shooting stars. That was a group from Smith College. Many people had never been under dark skies like that. Here we are. Sorry, that's okay. Janelle, don't worry about it. Thanks. The sound is not that important, but I do want to just start this one again. Here we are now in a different part of Western Massachusetts, dark skies, not quite as dark as this, but a class of students lying out on their sleeping bags, high up on a hilltop, far away from city lights. Many of them, again, seeing shooting stars that they'd never seen before, seeing the Milky Way that they'd never seen before. And here we are with a group of 50 students in my Astronomy 100 class on a hilltop apple orchard in New Salem, Massachusetts. And there's the Milky Way wheeling overhead. Again, the students have not seen it. Some of them cry, some of them laugh, some of them sing. And they say this is the best part of the semester for them, lying out in the grass, looking up at the stars. Everybody loves to see the stars. Everybody wants to see the stars. But it's hard to do these days, isn't it? This is closer to home for me. This is just about half a mile from campus in Northampton, Mass, city of 30,000, where the skies are so light that you can't see the Milky Way. It's right in the middle of this picture. Where is it? How come you can't see it? Because the sky is too bright. The sky is light polluted. Why is it light polluted? Well, one reason, if you turn around, you see the lights of the prison, the Hampshire County Prison. And that prison, this is the view from a new Habitat for Humanity, low-income housing development. The houses back onto this view. That's what they have to contend with. But it's not just that. It's not just the prison. It's all of downtown Northampton. Here it is. That's contributing to the brightening of the night sky that removes our ability to connect with thousands of generations of human heritage and the beauty of the night sky. Imagine being there in the middle of town in that canyon of light and trying to see the stars at all, even on the clearest, darkest nights. The history of this problem goes back, well, you could call this a long time, you might call it a short time. Let's see, it's about 200 years. That's the first street light in America, a gas lamp in Baltimore. Does it look familiar? That's just like the lights you have here in Nantucket. We have them here in Northampton too. But you can't even see what they look like in this picture because the light that's been put in them is at least 10 times brighter than the old gas flame that used to occupy those lights. So we're sticking to this old structure because it looks cool or old or traditional or colonial or something like that, with little regard for the actual history of them. And then we stick this super bright light in it that is totally inconsistent. So this is so bad that when we try to do romantic dining on that street, look what happens. This poor guy there, he's got a migraine from the lights. He's feeling this, right? So it's, you know, it's not even aesthetically pleasing, let alone good for so many other reasons that we'll talk about. It's not just street lights. It's not just the prison lights. It's lights on people's houses. This is somebody in my neighborhood who thought, no, I want to illuminate the walkway. So what I'll do is I'll stick some lights in the ground that face up. Well, what do you think is the problem with that? How do you use a flashlight? Do you point it at the ground or do you point it in your own eyes? We all know to use a flashlight, you point at the ground. So why would this be a good idea? Well, I don't know, but you can go to the store and you can buy these lights. Must be a good idea. If you look for walkway lights, this is most likely to be the kind you'll find. It doesn't have to be that way. Here's another neighbor who did a great job lighting their walkway. The lights are facing down. They're in little posts. They're facing down. They're not shining in your eyes. The color, a nice mellow amber color, that helps for all kinds of reasons. They're low level in terms of the amount of light. This is just perfect. You can turn them off, turn them on. It's not automatic. You just turn them on when you need them. So it totally can be done. It just takes a little bit of thought. Here's another neighbor, and this is going to resonate with folks here on the island, who has these two fixtures on the side of her door that are what we call brass and glass. It harks back, 200 years when you would have put a couple of candles in there, but they're not candles. Again, the lights that are in there are like 100 candles, and it and I understand these are called Nantucket Lights. If you not the organization, the thing. If you go online and Google, I want to buy a Nantucket light fixture, you're going to find something like this. And these are pictures I took last night just wandering around. But every single store, every single house had a light like this, a bright light inside a clear glass, shining out for all the world to see. And it does evoke something of history, but it's a mismatch. It's a mismatch between the history of that light fixture and what we're putting inside of it. The street lights, so there it is. That looks just like that one from 200 years ago in Baltimore. We're really stuck on that model, aren't we? But what goes in it is a bright light that is spilling light all over the place, including up into the trees. You can see the underside of the trees illuminated there. That is surely not the intent. It doesn't help anybody, but that's what we have. So what is light pollution? Light pollution, we experience it in these three ways. We experience it as light that shines in our eyes when we don't want it to. light that shines in our windows when we don't want it to. We'll call light trespass. Light shining in your eyes is glare. The light shining up into the sky that makes the sky glow bright, and that's called sky glow. Those are the three main ways that light pollution manifests. And what does it come from? It comes from lights that are too bright, too many lights, lights that are on all night long, even when nobody's there, like this parking lot in Northampton. Light that's shining in all directions, including into windows or even up into the sky. Why is this a problem? Why should we care about this? Or let's flip that around and say, how would we benefit if we could fix this problem? And there are at least 5 really good, important, compelling benefits. 1, we will get better health. 2, it's better for our safety if you don't have the light poking you in the eye. We all know that from driving around at night when the oncoming headlights blind you temporarily. That you can't fix so easily, but the lights that are permanently on a street post, that we should be able to fix once and for all. It's clearly a waste of money and energy if we're just shining light up into the sky when it's not the intent. Of course, we want to see the stars. It certainly matters to us astronomers, but it really matters for everybody. I haven't met somebody who said, I don't want to see the stars, I don't want to see the sky. And if we care about wildlife, the rest of nature depends critically on dark skies at night, and it will benefit from our efforts to protect that. So here's a perspective arguing that light pollution is really a new problem. For 10,000 generations, for hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of years, humans have had darkness at night as a key part of our environment. That has become part of everything we know, really everything that makes us human. Our stories are literally written in the stars. There is no culture that didn't turn to the sky for inspiration, for cosmology, for religion, for solace, for connection to our ancestors. But today we've lost them in many places. The difference between daytime and nighttime used to be really profound. We used to have these very, very dark nights and these very, very bright days, followed by another really, really dark night. A factor of 1,000,000 in brightness between the bright sunshine and darkness of night. But now with our modern life, we spend 95% of our time indoors, usually with electric lights on, even in the daytime, that are much dimmer than the bright sunshine in the middle of the day, but are much brighter than even brightest moonlight at nighttime. So we've flattened the curve in a bad way here. We've taken this very regular, every 24 hours, very bright, very dark, factor of 1,000,000, and we've compressed it to something in the middle that's 1,000 times too bright for nighttime and 1,000 times too dark for daytime. Why is this a problem? Our health is profoundly linked to those cycles of light and dark. This map of the world here in light pollution shows you immediately where the most populated and developed parts of the world are. In North America, for example, and in Europe and parts of Asia. And it doesn't show you the parts that are populated, but not so highly developed. This map shows you the rates of breast cancer incidence. And notice that the red zones, which are the highest rates of breast cancer, are highly correlated with the most light polluted parts of the world. This is not a coincidence. This is actually part of a trend where artificial light at night is directly linked to several, actually a large range of very serious human health problems, including breast cancer, prostate cancer, other endocrine-related cancers, obesity, diabetes, the disruption of mood, disruption of sleep. And the only way to study this really is in large epidemiological studies like these, using this fantastic database of 100,000 nurses assembled by Harvard over decades, so that they have good enough statistics to take apart the various causes of various problems and to eliminate various environmental factors like air pollution or demographics like socioeconomic or racial background or anything like that, and isolate the causes of various problems. And what do they find? a very strong link between light pollution and breast cancer in these 100,000 nurses. The nurses who lived in dark areas, much less breast cancer. The nurses who lived in light polluted areas, much higher rates of breast cancer. It's not just this study. It's been done in South Korea. It's been done in Spain. It's been done in Scandinavia. Again and again, there are now dozens of studies confirming this. Here is just one little screenshot from a database of over 6,000 articles that are all about artificial light at night, light pollution. And you can go to this database on Zotero and find this is a short list of articles, very recent ones, specifically about human health and the connections to light. Here are some results from a study. There's been some skepticism about these links between human health and light. But in this book, A Light Doctor, which I highly recommend, that author conducted the study where he actually asked his colleagues and arrived at a consensus where nearly 250 of his colleagues who are publishing actively in this field agreed with the 25 statements that you see listed here. And I've just pulled out these three. One, circadian rhythms, our body's cycle of wakefulness and sleepiness and digestion and respiration and temperature, everything else on 24-hour cycles is critically dependent on for good health. Another one, prolonged exposure to light at night interrupts circadian rhythms. And if it's strong enough to interrupt circadian rhythms, it's strong enough to lead to elevated rates of breast cancer in women, prostate cancer in men. And finally, it's especially blue light. Excuse me. It's especially blue light that is responsible for these disruptions to our circadian rhythms. How could it be that something as innocuous and beneficial as light could be associated with such serious health problems? And the link has actually been found and is now well known to this research community. Our eyes, in addition to giving us vision, have another function. They're programmed to look for the amount of blue light in the atmosphere, in the environment around us. When the sun goes down, the amount of blue light drops dramatically. Your eye gets that signal, sends a signal to the brain, start producing melatonin. Melatonin is a really important hormone. It regulates our circadian rhythm. It's also a powerful cancer suppressant. When you eliminate melatonin, when you stop the production of melatonin at night, we're supposed to have that. When you suppress that, you're messing with your immune system. You're inhibiting your own body's immune system's ability to fight cancer. And this is, I won't say universally, but widely thought to be the cause for those links between light pollution and endocrine cancers. Well, I mentioned that blue light is especially important. This graphic shows different kinds of light with a number there. I won't go into the physics details of what that number it means, but for us, it's going from 1500 up, and the K stands for Kelvin, so that's a unit here, but from 1500 up to 8,000 or something like that. The higher that number is, the more cool white that color is. That means there's more blue light in that mix of colors that are looking like white light. All of these you might call white light at some level, but they all have different balances of the different colors. These lights here have almost no blue light. Those lights on the other side have lots of blue light. And the critical thing is that these lights are the ones we want to use at night, not during the day. During the day, we want daylight kind of light. That's more like the 5,000 cool white color. But at night, we want lights that are minimal blue. And this is really only a sort of rough approximation of how to get that minimal blue. The key thing is to get minimal blue. Currently, the way the lighting industry has developed, this is our shorthand for minimal blue. We'll have to do for the immediate future. The problem is we have just made a great new invention that is exactly the opposite. We've developed bright white LED lights that are now by far the most common lights on the market. Any hardware store, any website, any Lowe's or big box store you go to buy lights, you're going to be buying LED lights. LEDs are here to stay. They're here for the foreseeable future. And the problem is, what makes them look white is a strong amount of blue light in them. This graph shows a candle which has on this color rating a low number, 1900 K. That's almost no blue light at all. The graph here shows pictorially how much of different colors there are. You see, it's mostly red. There's no blue at all. Does that suppress your production of melatonin? Barely at all, maybe at the 2% level. We would call that perfectly safe. If we all just had candlelight at night, we would not have that problem. The problem is, these are the lights that we're now making, LEDs. And what do you notice about the shape here? It doesn't look anything like the candle, does it? It's got this very, very strong blue bump. And that blue bump is exactly the one that your eye is most sensitive to and your brain is most sensitive to, is looking for blue to go away at night. And instead, we're flooding our eyes and our bodies with blue light that is turning off, interrupting that very important cycle. The American Medical Association recognized this 10 years ago as a problem and issued this report saying, hey, folks, don't use lights bluer than 3000 K at night, and also avoid glare because it's an obvious hazard on the roads. There are thousands of papers on artificial light at night versus health. And this is just a small fraction of just the papers published in 2025. So again, it's new only in the sense that, well, 20 years ago, we didn't know much of this, but there are institutes devoted to studying this issue now. All right, how about the glare issue? The way lights are designed and to shine light this way or that way or this way, and what difference does it make? This picture shows a sort of typical street light, and there's a house over there and there's a person standing next to the house, and you can see that some of the light is shining down in that dark yellow cone. That's a useful light. That's where it's shining on the ground underneath the light. It's going to do some good. It's going to help you avoid tripping or slipping on the ice, or if you're driving, from hitting somebody or something. And so that's at least potentially useful. The other light going out much more sideways, not useful. And in fact, it's harmful. It's shining right in that person's eyes. That's the flashlight effect. That's not good. That's glare. It's shining into the windows of the house over there. There's even light shining up directly into the sky. That's not the intent of the light. It's not only helpful, it's harmful. Here's another picture showing basically the same thing. Three buildings. The one in the middle has two lights, a bad one on the left and a good one on the right. The bad one's shining in all directions, including into the neighbors. The one on the right is shining only down. So no light trespass, no glare, no uplighting. We've eliminated or greatly minimized the three main manifestations of light pollution. If you are over a certain age, you will know from experience that driving at night gets harder, not easier. And it's because our eyes get less transparent. All the parts of our eyes, the lens, the cornea, the vitreous humor, the insides, the gooey parts, they get less transparent with age. And the result is that a little bright spot of light, like a headlight or an unshielded street light or a porch light, shows up as horrible glare, like the picture on the right. The picture on the left might be what a younger eye would see, well enough to be able to see there are some hazards there. You know, you're about to hit somebody. If you don't want to hit them, you have to be able to see them. So many people say to me, "Oh, I'm old now. I can't drive at night. It's over." But I don't think that should be the case. The solution is not for us to lock up the old folks in their houses. The solution should be fix the bad lights. It's often said, wait a second, we just need the lights because it's safer. We need them for safety against crime. We need them for safety for all kinds of reasons, but crime always comes up, and security and fear of the dark. And there are many volumes written about that and lots of statistics, but instead I just want to share this anecdote Mary Beth, my wife, and I live in Northampton in this house on the right side here, and that's our street light. Directly under that street light, our car was parked one night when thieves came at 2 o'clock in the morning, jacked it up, cut out the catalytic converter and let the car back down, and then went off to the next one. And because the catalytic converter has precious metals that they can sell the thing on the black market. We know of 3 other people that happened to in town, directly under a street light. It actually happened to us again. So it's happened twice under the same street light. The street light probably made it easier for them to see what they were doing, right? Did it send them away? Absolutely not. So we don't need more lighting for safety. We need better lighting. In fact, bad lighting is worse than no lighting at all. You know what it's like looking at a glare bomb like this on somebody's back porch. You probably have a neighbor who's got a porch light like this. If you could only just hold your hand up to block out that glare like this, you would see there's somebody standing in the doorway, and he's actually in here too. You just can't see him because of the glare. So glare makes it harder to see, not easier. When you turn off the lights, don't you get a huge rush of crime? Not in Paris, where they turn off the lights on the Eiffel Tower. There's a national law that says you got to turn off lights that are not needed late at night. In the whole country, they turn lights off in cities and towns, big and small. And have they been inundated with crime during those hours? I think you would probably have heard about it if it were happening. It just doesn't happen. Light pollution is a waste of money and energy. It's self-evident. If you're shining light up into the sky, that means you're burning electricity. You're producing electricity and using it for a cause that was never the intent of that light bulb. And how are you producing electricity? Probably you're burning fossil fuels. So if you care about climate change, light pollution is burning $3 billion minimum in the United States per year. That's a very conservative estimate. It's probably more like 10 times that, $30 billion a year spent lighting up the undersides of birds and airplanes. That it was never the intent. Now, you might wonder, how did we get as humans this sensitivity to blue light? And it's a neat answer that I just learned about actually in this book again. It comes from 500 million years ago, when life was really only in the ocean. And at the bottom of the ocean, the sunlight filters down and filters down and filters down. And by the time it gets to the bottom of the ocean, all that's left is a little bit of blue light. The other colors get filtered out. The blue light makes it down. So any animal living at the bottom of the ocean could tell, if it could see blue light, whether it was daytime or nighttime. And that would be a huge advantage to help you find food or to avoid being food. You would want to know, when is it time to hide? Is it time to hunt? And the only light that made it through the water was the blue light. So animals developed sensitivity to blue light. That's what we've inherited. And animals today still have that same sensitivity. All animals, all living things on Earth need darkness at night to thrive and are negatively affected by artificial light at night. This great horned owl needs darkness at night to thrive, as do the animals it's hunting. Many of you might be bird watchers. I love to watch birds myself. And we all know that birds migrate, a lot of them, about 80% of North American birds. And this is another fantastic aspect of nature inherited over thousands of generations, tens of thousands of years. This shows the migration routes of birds up from South America, across the Caribbean, up to the very northern reaches of North America. Every year, thousands and thousands of miles, all the way north, all the way south, all the way back north, year after year. And they do it at night. They do it at night. 80% of migration by birds happens at night. This map shows the migration. This is weather radar that picks up bird migrations. The blue, look at it. It's blooming from the East Coast to the West Coast. What's happening here? Night is falling across the United States. Night starts on the East Coast, then the middle, then the West Coast. And what we just saw is millions of birds taking to the wing to fly at night. This website, Birdcast, lets you chart how many birds are flying overhead any night of the year. I picked this night in May of this year. It was May 12th, and this is Nantucket. The number of birds flying over Nantucket on May 12th of this year is estimated to be over 250,000. So just think about that. You go out at night on this May night, and you look up and you might see the stars in the Milky Way. Do you see the birds? Did you know they were there? Do you think about them? But they're there. There's this ocean of birds invisibly flying overhead. And it happens again coming up now. September, October will be the fall migration on the way back. Here's the problem. Those migration routes, if you overlay them on the light pollution map, is a direct collision. They are flying over light polluted areas. And it turns out that the result of this is about 1 billion bird deaths per year. They migrate at night using the stars to navigate, among other things. They have multiple methods, multiple mechanisms for navigation. But it is known, it's been known for decades now, birds use the stars to migrate. What happens if they can't see the stars? They get distracted by city lights. They circle until they die from exhaustion, or they crash into buildings, or they land in the wrong place. In fact, it was recently found the brightness of the sky, the artificial brightness from light pollution, is the second most important thing that determines where birds will stop on their trips north and south during that migration. There are a number of different factors that determine they're looking for food. They want to forage during the day and then be well fed and then take to the wing at night again. But they're getting drawn off course, distracted by the bright lights of cities and towns. Here's one of the more famous examples, the pillars in light, the tribute in light that are the 9/11 memorial in New York City that shine these multi-thousand, I don't know, megawatt lights up into the sky, and they trap birds that are migrating across New York City in this tractor beam of light by the thousands. And of course, the predictable result is that thousands of them are picked up on the ground in cities all around the world. But certainly there in New York as a result of that. It's not just birds, it's not just animals in the air, it's not just animals on the ground. Light pollution affects aquatic animals too, something that I'm sure many of you care about here on Nantucket. Even if you don't have salmon, you have all these other species that are either protected or threatened or overfished, and they are sensitive to light pollution as well. They know when it's daytime, when it's nighttime, when the moon is out, and they are adjusting their feeding, their predation, their migration by those natural cycles, and it's severely disrupted by artificial light at night. These two maps show for the North Sea and the Persian Gulf, the areas where the oceans are severely affected. The colored shaded regions here show strongly affected aquatic regions that have direct effect on the wildlife in those aquatic regions. And you see that some of them are way out at sea because of fishing boats intentionally using bright lights to attract fish. I know that this is an issue here on Nantucket. I know you've been expressing a lot of concern in the community about how we should go about developing Nantucket's waterways for wind, or should we at all? And these are the wind turbines that have been installed by Vineyard Wind off the south coast of Nantucket. And submitting to pressure from maybe you, has agreed to turn on their fancy system that will turn off the lights on those windmills, turn off the lights all night long, except when there's an airplane detected coming by. So it's the Airplane Detection Lighting System, ADLS. They had installed it, but they hadn't tested it, they hadn't implemented it. Finally, now they say, okay, we're doing it, we're turning the lights off, except when there's an airplane coming in, the lights will be off. Well, here's what happened last night. But meanwhile, the Milky Way was wheeling overhead, and it was a spectacular, beautiful night. And the tide, the surf was up, as you probably know, and it kept washing, kept filling that pool up in front of me. And so I'd see the pool let up my feet. Such a pleasure to chat. Yeah. What about insects? Surely they are immune to this. No, no, actually, they depend critically on darkness at night too. What's your favorite insect? I'm going to guess it might be this one. Fireflies, certainly mine. These are thousands upon thousands of fireflies on a warm July night, and they're blinking to find their mates. In the presence of artificial light at night, light pollution, they just go away. They go away so much that in the present, due to light pollution, some species of fireflies are threatened with extinction. When you fix bad lights and also provide nice rotten logs and other debris for the fireflies to nest in, the fireflies come back, and there are many cases of that happening. We all know what you see if you look at a bright street light. There's the one outside my house again, our house, the insects flying around. They're attracted to the light for reasons that are only now becoming clear. They're not supposed to be there. The effect is that 50% of them are going to die that night. They're going to die because they're going to spend all their energy going around the light instead of going off and doing what they're supposed to do. And this is thought to be one of the main causes of the so-called insect apocalypse you might have heard about, where there's a steep decline in insects worldwide, and light pollution is, along with climate change and insecticides and other various problems, one of the main reasons. This is just one list of the many ways in which insects are negatively affected by artificial light at night by different authors and different publications. So there are many people working on this, and there's just no question light pollution is bad for the insect world. For example, of the 180,000 species of butterflies and moths, the great majority of them are nocturnal. So we think about insects mostly because we're diurnal as bees and butterflies, but actually most of them are nighttime moths and other nocturnal insects. It has been found that in the presence of artificial light at night, if you shine some artificial light on a field of flowers, the number of visits by the pollinating insects that we depend on for our food supply, right? All the things we eat depend on pollinating insects, drops by more than 50%. It even drops by 20% during the day. You might think, well, there are different insects, it doesn't make a difference. No, even the diurnal insects depend on darkness at night. So we think about the monarch butterfly, which is sensitive to light pollution. We think of this as sort of an iconic pollinator, but really we should be thinking about the nighttime. Here in Northampton, they didn't think about the nighttime when they designed this beautiful pollinator garden and had the local pollinator network volunteers come and plant these gorgeous flowers, butterfly bushes, and all these other pollinator-friendly flowers. And I'm sure I know how proud of the gardens here you are on Nantucket. What happens at night? We attract the insects by day with these beautiful flowers, and then we kill them with these death rays at night. These lights are brighter, 15 times brighter than some parks in New York City. Do they have to be so bright? They're bluer than recommended by the American Medical Association or the town of Nantucket and the town of Northampton. But Northampton has been unwilling to admit that they made a mistake and to change these lights. And we'll get there yet, but they just didn't know, they didn't think about it, and it's going to take time to fix the problem. So all these problems collectively that are studied by all these different institutes around the world, it's recognized at a very high level. These are just 3 reports recently issued by United Nations level organizations acknowledging the importance of darkness at night for flora and fauna. Here's one way to think about it. What would happen to this frog and its family if you drained the wetland of the water? We all know what happened. The frogs would all die. What would happen if you drained it of darkness at night? If you drain it of darkness at night, the same thing happens. All the animals die. They critically depend on darkness at night, just as they depend on water in the wetlands. Okay, how about the night sky and the meaning for the night sky? Here we have downtown Northampton, flooded with light on a mostly clear winter night with some of the brightest stars in the sky in the Milky Way, almost invisible because of the lights. And then just a few miles away, we have this beautiful view of the starry sky, just 11 miles away at Smith's lovely McLeish Field Station, where we love to bring our students so that they can experience that for themselves. What happens when you shine light up into the sky so that the sky itself glows. This is the scale that we astronomers use to measure these things, the Bortle scale, that goes from 1 to 9, where 1 is a pristine dark sky and 9 is a light polluted sky like New York City's Times Square or Las Vegas or Los Angeles. And the practically no stars visible, just a handful of stars and no Milky Way at all. And going all the way up to spectacular view of 5,000 stars and details in the Milky Way. So where is Nantucket? Well, on this scale, here in town, we're probably 4. In the darkest parts of the island, it's a good 3. The problem is light pollution is getting worse quickly. Here was a map of the United States and light pollution in the 1950s, in the 70s, in the 90s, and here is today. This was a prediction from about 20 years ago, but it's come true and worse. Practically the entire East Coast, east of the Mississippi, is just flooded in light pollution, except for a few rare spots, and Nantucket is, I would say, a candidate on that list. Fortunately, we have people studying this, including citizen scientists right here in Nantucket. This is a worldwide map of measurements made in this citizen science project called Globe at Night, where you can do this. In fact, there were people here on the island doing it last night. Gail was one of them, Jeff was one, I was one, and there were half a dozen others around the island. To go out at night with this little gizmo, you push this button, you point the lens up to the zenith, the point overhead, and it'll tell you how bright the sky is in some funny astronomer's units, and then you write it down and you send it in, and it winds up on this map. And this has been going for years, so we can track the evolution of light pollution over time. And unfortunately, the news is bad. Using that citizen science project, it's become evident that light pollution is growing at 10% per year. Worse. That's 10 times faster than population growth. We're using more light per person all around the world. Here's an example. Here's our house again on an incredible night when the street light was broken. And we had this lovely view of the sky and stars, and I loved it. Not all my neighbors did, but Mary Beth and I were so happy about this. It was broken in a funny way that the light was off for 15 seconds, then on for 15 seconds, then off for another 15 seconds, then it'd be, come on. Now, the real reason I took these pictures is because I knew the city was about to replace this old high-pressure sodium street light that had been there 50 years with a new LED light. And we engaged in a pitched battle with the city to try and get them to make a good decision. Here's the decision they made. So this is the old light. Get ready, here comes the new one. This is our street light now. And it could be much worse. It really could. That's the same camera, the same lens, the same setting. Everything about it is the same. It's just the street light that's changing. All right, so that's the problem in a nutshell. I just have to tell you one more twist to this. I would be remiss if I didn't mention a new kind of light pollution that is plaguing us in the night skies, and that is the satellites. Yes, each of these is a picture by a professional telescope that has been photobombed. All the streaks here, the trails here and there and here are from satellites, and they're all specifically from the Starlink satellite system of SpaceX, Elon Musk's company, that is providing free internet to some communities, paid internet to most, and wreaking havoc with astronomers' attempts to study the cosmos. And it's an ongoing problem that is a really what we call a wicked problem, like complicated and no easy solution. And we've been working on it ever since we saw the first launch, and that's tough. But back to ground-based light pollution, and let's zoom in on Massachusetts here, and you can see the super bright lights of Boston and Providence and Worcester, and there's Nantucket down there. I've got a pin in it, so you can compare. Well, how good or bad is it here on Nantucket? It's not perfect, but it's certainly not Boston, is it? Let's zoom in on Nantucket. You can see where the worst light pollution is. This is a very sort of coarse, rough picture compared to the detailed one that Gail and Jeff and their teams of measurers are putting together. But if you click on this, and I highly recommend going to this map, lightpollutionmap.info, this website. Anywhere in the world, any place you've ever lived or think about living or think about going on vacation, you can check how good or bad is the night sky there. And you'll see, well, it's the light pollution is really centered on the town. That's no surprise. If you click on it, you get some numbers and it tells you, let's see. Oh, we said Bortle class 4, where 1 is the best, 9 is the worst. Ratio 1.81. Naturally dark sky. And there are some other numbers that basically give the same info. How about if we go to one of the darkest parts of the island? Now we see the sky is only 13% brighter than naturally dark skies. And now we're down to a Bortle class 3. That's a pretty good dark site. That's almost as good as anywhere you can get east of the Mississippi. Globe at night here, look, there's Nantucket. Those are measurements made by perhaps some of the people in this room. This is another way of measuring the brightness of the sky. This is an all-sky map made by Brian Boulanger, invited by Gail Walker and Nantucket Lights to come and do specific measurements to study the details of where the lights are coming from. And this is an all-sky view. So it's looking south. South is in the middle here, and north is on the two ends. So the brightest light you see is right there. And this is, by the way, from say again?
Altar Rock.
Altar Rock, right, thank you. There it is, right there, Altar Rock. So the darkest part of the island, the biggest sky glow is this dome of light right here. That's coming from town. So this is downtown Nantucket, where we're sitting right now. But over there, that second little bump there, that's Boston and the rest of the Cape. You know, dozens and dozens of miles away. All these measurements have been compiled and studied to help us understand, okay, how bad is the problem? Where to focus our attention? This graph shows the measurements of dozens of people over several years, where each little tiny square there represents one measurement with this little gizmo, where the numbers on the right are darker and the numbers on the left are brighter. So these are the numbers for the town, and these are the numbers for the dark part of town. And of course, our goal, our hope is that we can shift all of those even further over towards the dark. We can make the town darker and the rest of the island darker as well. So here again is the view from Nantucket. And what you see is the beautiful Milky Way overhead, an airplane flying through, a house with no outdoor lights at all. Thank you, house. And some indoor lights, and some of the lights are shining out on the beach, but it's okay. There's another house next to it, pitch black. So happy to see that. Once they go to bed, they just turn all the lights out. So helpful. What's all this over here? Clouds lit up from underneath by Boston and by the Cape and everything between us and them. This is right here last night. This is Mary Beth and me lying on our backs in the parking lot right outside this building, and looking up when we could see the Milky Way beautifully with our eyes. It's a treat for us. We do not get to see that in Northampton. It's such a treat to come here and see that Milky Way right from town. So how do we fix the problem? All this has been about the problem. How do we fix it? Here again, Northampton, our so-called pollinator garden. Would you like to be a bug living in that pollinator garden? Rule number 1, shine the lights down only. This is summarizing things we've already said, but just to summarize. Shine the lights down, not out, not up. And if you have lights that shine out, you might be able to fix them the way the elementary school here in Nantucket did, where the lights used to be the flashlight shining you right in the eyes, glare, but the local dark sky advocates were able to convince the school to aim the lights down. Are they perfect lights? No, they're still too bright and too blue, and they're still on too much of the time, but at least they're not shining outside us and up into the sky. Much better. It looks better. It gives you better visibility. You can see better. It's less harmful in all the ways we've said. How do we fix this? This is a wicked problem because it's so ingrained in the culture and the history, and people care so much about these onion lights, and it's such a look. Here's one solution. Just keep the fixture, but just replace the light bulb with one like that's shining down only. And you could make it one that's not too bright and it has a nice warm amber color, a nice glow, and you would have fixed most of the problem. It's not a new concept. You've all been to a public theater where you sit down in the audience, the lights go down, you look at the stage, you can see everything on the stage just fine. You can turn to your neighbor and see your neighbor just fine. the lights are not shining in your eyes, right? You can go get a degree in theater lighting. The number one rule for lighting theater, lighting the stage, is do not shine the light in the audience's eyes. Shine it on the stage. Don't shine it in the audience's eyes. The people on the stage can't see anything, right? They're blinded by glare. That's okay. That's all right. Their job is to be up there and do their thing in the full light. But the job of the lighting designer is to avoid shining light in the audience's eyes. Why do we forget that simple rule when it comes to outdoor lighting? Why is it okay to shine light in people's eyes outdoors? What's wrong with this picture? This is a bike path in our area in East Hampton, right next to Northampton. What do you see? What's wrong with it? It's pointing sideways right into your eyes as you're trying to. Bike down that bike path. It's also ruining life. Okay, number 2 slide, and several others. I would hate to live in this development in Northampton with that one. Okay. Thank you. Does that mean we haven't been recording anything else until now? Well, we don't know. We'll find out. That's right. We're here. We were here.
We have been recording.
Oh, good. Super. Thank you for that confirmation. These are all cities and towns that have adopted some kind of policy limiting the amount of blue light. The LEDs are available just up the road from us in Sherbrooke, Quebec. A city of 200,000, all the streetlights look like that. Again, it's a solved problem. There's not a technological problem. It is possible to get LED lights that give you all the safety and reassurance that we need and want without causing all the harm that we've just seen. What do I do to change? I see a big Mariah Mitchell.
You just need to represent and share with Zoom.
Got it. Yep, thank you so much. Okay. Rule number 3, don't use more light than you need. We tend to overlight by factors of 10 or 100. In the old days, people would plan their travel around the full moon because the full moon gives you enough light to see at night, especially in the wintertime, but even at other times, you know what it's like. You go out at full moon, you let your eyes adapt, you can see pretty darn well. So maybe, how about 10 times brighter than full moon? Shall we agree that maybe that's a reasonable level? Why do we have to have things 1,000 times brighter than the full moon and still complain that there isn't enough light? Here's Nantucket last night from the bike path, 1 o'clock in the morning. Do we have to have the light on the flag all night long? Look at the sky below that it's causing. Do we have to have the string lights on the restaurant on all night long? At 1 o'clock in the morning, nobody's there. What is it doing? Nobody's even driving by. There's no advertising benefit. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's what you meant. Sorry. Gotcha. Yes, thank you. Let's try that again. Oh, it was such a beautiful night. Also, is that working now? You can see it now? Okay, I can see it. I'm sharing it. Yeah. Here's a house with not just one bright porch light, but multiple bright porch lights, and not just porch lights, but even stairs there are lit up, each one. Do they have to be on at 1 o'clock in the morning? Who's benefiting from them? What about a motion sensor that detects whether somebody is actually going to need the light or not? And 95% of the time, the lights are just off. You might say, okay, the school parking lot, if we turn the lights off, the graffiti will just go crazy. Vandalism will go exponential. It turns out it's the opposite. And many schools that have turned off their lights at night get less graffiti, not more. This is one example. In our town, Northampton, these lights are here on one of our high schools, Smith Vocational High School, and they were on all night long until a bunch of us in Northampton got together and talked with the school officials and convinced them, just try turning them off. And guess what? There's no additional crime or problem of any sort. and the neighbors get to sleep better at night. So all of this we could summarize with the 5 principles of responsible outdoor lighting. Light should be useful, not just random stuck on a building for no reason. Targeted, meaning it should point down. Low level, meaning not brighter than necessary. Controlled, meaning turn it off when you're not using it. And warm color. One final benefit here, if you do it right, you get more beautiful everything, more beautiful nights, more beautiful walkways, more beautiful buildings, a more beautiful city and town. Glare is ugly. The flashlight shining in your eye, that's ugly. If we do it right, we'll all benefit from additional beauty in our world. So is this an impossible challenge? Is it impossible to find good lights? No, it's easy. It's actually quite easy. Here's a bad light. Here's a good light that looks pretty much like it, but it's not shining up into the sky. Here are great lights in some other New England towns that are shining down only, no uplight at all. Here's some other ones at the train station in Berlin, Connecticut. A bad one in Northampton that has high glare, but at least it's not shining straight up into the sky. These are great lights in downtown Northampton, shining on the building, not into your eyes. No glare, really nicely done. Again, here's the test. When you look at a scene, what's the first thing you notice? If the first thing you notice is the light bulb, that's bad, right? You shouldn't even be able to see the light bulb. It should be in a can facing down or facing towards the building, which is the case here. These are good. Here's Smith College's lights. I'm getting underneath it so I can see the light bulb, but most of the time it's a light in a can. It's not causing glare. It's not too bright. It's a nice warm color. It's respecting the natural and historic and built environment around as at the same time as gently lighting the path for the students to see at night and to feel safe. And the result is we can have 3,000 students living right in this natural splendor with a lake full of Canada geese and beavers and river otters and mink and weasels and all kinds of aquatic life. And it's so much fun having all this wildlife right there. One of the great decisions Smith made when they did $150 million renovation of their big library was to hire one of the best lighting designers in the world, Suzanne Tillotson, who used this kind of light here, tall pole. There it is. What do we say? You want the light in a can facing down. And the result is you can't see the light bulb at all. What you see is a warm, gentle glow. It's inviting. The students feel safe, but it's very low level. It's not overlit. It's subtle. It's beautiful, and there's zero glare. We were very worried about this development in astronomy because our observatory looks directly at it. Our building's right next to it. It turns out it's no problem at all. You'd never know it's there. That's an exaggeration, but it's pretty good. We've been able to convince a number of businesses to fix their lights that were tilted like this and shining in all directions and tilt them down horizontally. And here's an example before where this local market had very high glare lights. They let us come climb up a ladder, fix the lights, and now it's much more easy on the eye, much mellower, much more attractive. You can see the store, you don't see the light. Another example, you can't even tell what this is. It's just a horrible glare bomb. But after we fixed it, got up on a ladder and fixed it, now you can see, oh, okay, it's a liquor store and a convenience store. And instead of being blinded by the light, now you actually have some benefit from it. That's a good light. It's a light in a can. That's a fine light. There are plenty of good lights available. You just have to look for them. Even a prison can have good lighting. This one in southern Vermont, you would never know it's there. It's right next to a famous astronomy site called Stellafane. And it was designed by Nancy Clanton, who's another world famous lighting designer. Even prisons can have dark sky friendly lights. But where could you find these? Go to this website. Dark Sky is the international go-to organization for this whole issue. And they keep a list of approved products that are dark sky friendly. Here's another one. This is the observatory just north of us in Quebec. And their website also has a lot of good suggestions for good lights to find. You could just go to Home Depot. You have to be careful though. You have to look for the ones that are specifically dark sky approved. Same thing in Lowe's. They're there. They might be only 5 or 10% of the stock. So the analogy would be like going to the supermarket and seeing lots of junk food and then a few apples here. And if you didn't know any better, you might just buy the junk food. But we now know the apples are better. Of course, you also have local expertise, and this is the fantastic outdoor lighting guide assembled by Nantucket Lights, which we're now using in Northampton and elsewhere, and sharing as widely as we can. This is a great compendium of good information. If you're in a position to make a decision about your own lights or your business's lights or the school's lights or to help a neighbor, this is a great, great resource. There is legislation in Massachusetts pending to require all projects paid for by state or city or town, all lighting projects, to adhere to certain basic rules, like the lights have to be shielded against glare. They have to be not too much blue. They have to be, no brighter than necessary. It's a tough battle getting this legislation through. We're working hard on it, but we've been working for many years, and it has not gotten over the finish line yet. We're hopeful, but in the meantime, we have other means. For example, we did get the state to proclaim International Dark Sky Week in recognition with this international effort around the world to celebrate darkness at night in April. And Massachusetts is one of the governments around the world that issued a proclamation. There's Governor Healy's proclamation. Nantucket Lights is your go-to org, and they have really set a very, very high bar for advocacy in protection of natural darkness at night. And thank you, Gail, for your incredible efforts to found and lead this organization to amazing successes, including the passage last year of a significantly updated bylaw governing Nantucket's outdoor lights. I'm sure many of you know about this, but this was a huge win. It took a lot of work, a lot of support from a lot of different people, individuals, organizations, and kudos and thank you for showing us how to do it right. It has helped at least keep and maybe put Nantucket on the map of stargazing destinations. You really have something special here, and it is worth preserving. And this is getting known wider and wider around the world. These are just a couple of examples recently written up in Condé Nast Traveler, that stargazing is one of the things people come to Nantucket for. And here the Chamber of Commerce refers to legendary dark skies on Nantucket as something adding to the zero stress vacation that these beachgoers are enjoying. And this is from a recent issue of, you have some copies in the back there, Gail, of the, what is it called? Blue Dot, the local.
Yeah, Nantucket Green Dot.
Green Guide, there it is, right. Okay, and there's a 2-page spread in there. This is showing it, written by Gail and Nantucket Lights, describing some of the obvious to us now, but maybe not so obvious to others, benefits of doing lighting right here on the island. I've had the great privilege of being able to come to Nantucket and enjoy the dark skies. This is a few years ago, just a couple of blocks from here. This is the second oldest house in Nantucket, and you can see we're fighting light from the streets shining on the house, but still we were able to get a gorgeous view of the stars and the moon setting on that lovely night. Nantucket is on the list. An application has been submitted to get Nantucket certified as an official dark sky community. This is an international program. Over 200 sites around the world have been recognized as dark sky community or preserve or park, or there are a few different categories. It's a rigorous set of criteria, and it's a long process, but I am confident that it's going to happen. And we'll just stay tuned for the coming months to hear that good news when Nantucket becomes the next dark sky community. We have an organization, a chapter in Massachusetts of Dark Sky International. We're very active. We meet every month by Zoom and once in person in different places around the state. We're hoping, we're thinking, we're talking, we're dreaming about coming to Nantucket one day, maybe as soon as next year for our annual meeting. In the meantime, we're active on all fronts in many cities and towns. And if you happen to be in Massachusetts, then I encourage you to come join us on those. So here's just a short list as I wrap up of ways that you could get involved to help save natural darkness at night. Join these organizations, wonderful organizations of Mariah Mitchell Association, Nantucket Lights, Dark Sky Massachusetts. But in addition, we have to realize light pollution is really an environmental conservation issue. And it has to be on the Sierra Club and Mass Audubon and Trustees of Reservations radar. And it's already on the Appalachian Mountain Club. But every major environmental organization and conservation organization should be including and advancing this cause. Talk with your neighbors. That's sometimes the hardest conversation, but we have to find ways to do it. Talk with your city or town or county or state. Support good controls for lighting in the way we've talked about. Here's a great way to start. Get your employer or your school or your kid's school to just adopt the 5 principles. There's no commitment, there's no money involved, there are no numbers. It's just a statement of values, and it starts the conversation. And then you can put teeth in it later. So a great way to start is the 5 principles. And finally, I just want to emphasize, keep it fun. Get people outside to enjoy the magic of the night. It's, as I said, as I started, it's one of my favorite things to do. And I feel as if it's maybe my best ticket to connect with people, to just share my passion and my love about being outside at night. And it's something that we have to keep in mind as there's such a dominant sense of fear in our culture. And that fear extends to fear of the dark and fear of strangers and fear of night. And we can turn that around, and we can remind people that the night is also a place of wonder and awe and inspiration and beauty and rest. And to summarize everything, light pollution is bad for the reasons we talked about. Light pollution is easy to fix for the other reasons that we talked about. And then I'll leave you with this, this video of a particular kind of magic, a pandemic comet. And many of you remember this one, this comet Neowise that graced our skies, and people by the millions went out all around the world at a time when they couldn't connect with each other in person any other way, but they could go outside and they could look up and they could see this beautiful thing hanging in the sky, and they could connect with their loved ones around the world who were seeing the same thing. And that is a message that we can all take home, that the night sky connects us all, and we need to protect it for all the reasons we talked about. Thank you all so much. I'm very happy to take questions and talk about it.
How big of a problem is the Vineyard Wind project a light pollution problem? Because when I looked at your photograph, even when the lights were on, it didn't look like it had any discernible effect on the night sky. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's thanks for the question. And for Zoomland, the question was, what about Vineyard Wind and how big a problem is it? You know, I would say the jury is way out. We're just at the beginning of studying that problem. And so I have my impressions, but they're really just first impressions. My first impressions were, that's pretty ugly, and it's offending me, but I'm not sure that it's measurably changing the night sky. I am pretty sure it's having an effect on the marine life underneath it, but I don't know any quantitative information. But there's just beginning to be a trickle of research worldwide about it, about the effects on the ecosystems. It's too soon for me personally anyway to have a strong sense. But I think it's my strong feeling is the precautionary principles should apply. And if we think about Vineyard Wind multiplied by 100 or 1,000, then we better make sure that we get it right. And I think the conservative thing to do is keep all lights off unless we absolutely need them. And when they're on, they should be the best kind of least harmful lights possible. That's the best I can say right now. Probably in 10 years, we're gonna know a lot more, but we want to make sure we get ahead of the ball.
You had mentioned that for shopping for lights or light bulbs, look for specific dark sky certified lights. Is there a symbol or some kind of indicator of packaging?
There is, yes. There is a dark sky approved. It's dark sky approved. There is if you just go to darksky.org, you'll see they have a whole webpage devoted to finding lights for your walkway, for a parking lot, for a street, for a porch, anything. You can also retrofit lights. If you have a light that's shining in all directions, you can buy this shield, or you can buy this shield, or you can buy this kind of fixture. That's the light in the can facing down. Yeah, Pam.
So as James mentioned, the Nantucket Lighting bylaw passed the color temperature of 2,700 Kelvin. Dark Sky International will approve a fixture that has an integrated LED system, meaning the bulb can be changed, as 3,000 Kelvin. So you have to be careful like, they have the fully shielded one, but it's integrated where you can't change the bulb. Make sure you're buying 2,700 Kelvin in order to buy the Nantucket sky. That's the only problem with that website.
Thanks, Gail. Yeah, the same would be true for Northampton, which also has a,
Dark Sky has caught up with this movement. They made that the criteria for approval for that program back when 2,700 Kelvin wasn't available. So they haven't really caught up with us. We're ahead of the and what.
Right.
Anyway, I did want to point that out. Be a little clear.
So Gail, we have 2 more years or 3 more years to comply,
January 1st, 2029.
29, okay.
That's for all lighting that was existed, that was already installed before the
Discussion.
bylaw became effective.
discussion in the room is about.
The bylaw gives you 5 years to come in compliance, and we've already.
For folks on Zoom,
Here.
the discussion is about 2,700 versus 3,000 and how Nantucket is 2,700 limit.
Is the movements or the number now, because we have 3 houses that just got finished in our neighborhood that have exactly what you posted. The glaring lights out, they're white bright, they're not shielded,
If
and
it's a brand new house, they were supposed to comply with the bylaw.
Yeah.
They don't have extra. So,
they don't, but what do you do? Because they've done it and it's there.
well, we advise people to talk to their neighbor to let them know about this bylaw.
Like that.
And try, and if they won't, you can report it to our lighting enforcement officer and hope that the town takes action. But I personally think it's a matter of convincing people who want to do it voluntarily. So talking to them, giving them our information.
Discussion here is about how to talk to neighbors about their offensive lights.
Peter? No, I'm back, but. You have the habitat full, if you shut the lights down, okay.
The question was, can we get the Habitat folks to shut the lights down?
Yeah.
In Northampton?
They changed it?
No, the problem is, of course, the prison is the source of the lights. It's Habitat for Humanity houses that are suffering from those lights of the prison. And the prison is under state jurisdiction and they don't even have to obey Northampton's law, which would be, anyway, we have not been able to convince them to spend any time or money to fix those lights yet.
I was checking on my son, because he's at low tech school and he brings the kids in to build these houses, so I was gonna give him help. Now I don't have to do that. I misunderstood. Thank you.
So if only the blue light could get to the sea, wouldn't all the blue fish die?
The question is, nice question, if only the blue light could get down to the bottom of the ocean, wouldn't all the bluefish die? I think let's distinguish between what the fish looks like and what the fish sees. The question about the blue light coming in, say more about, let me understand your question better. Say more about how you think the bluefish might die as a result of that.
So if it's blue, that would mean that's the only color light it can absorb. So it's reflecting that off its body.
Yes, and therefore, how would that help lead to a premature death?
That's the only light it can absorb. That's the only light that's there and won't have any light.
Ah, I see. Okay, so it's a blue fish, therefore it reflects blue, and that's the only light available. So it's not, and you're suggesting that the fish need some additional light to live. I think that's the answer. I don't think the fish actually need the light shining on them to live. They just need it to see. And that blue light is enough for them to see. I think that's the answer.
Very clever.
Yeah, nice catch.
Yes, sir.
What about changing the light, the color of the light bulbs? We have a home in a community where they change all the street lamps to red to avoid turtle getting confused.
Yes.
All the street lights are red.
Yes.
Does that work?
The question was, what about communities that have protected sea turtles by changing all their lights to an amber reddish color?
It's red.
It's red. Okay.
Red.
Yes. Yeah. That is a great solution if you can convince your community to do it. It's pretty hard to convince a town like Nantucket to do that, or mine, Northampton, given so many factors about fear of the dark and the market and so on. But that is actually the best kind of light for minimal impact on wildlife and humans.
You can see very well.
You
can
can,
drive it with no issue.
in many cases, that is just fine. It's a political, social problem. It's not a technological problem. That is actually a decent solution.
Yes, Becca.
Thank you for your presentation, very informative, but, it was sort of discouraging to see all of the effects of light pollution over the last decade or so, but also very hopeful that with technology and education that we can turn this around. And towards that end, my husband and I just had either the blessing or the curse of having to remodel our mainland house. And one of the things when we were working with our lighting consultant and electrician was there's actually so much technology now that's come along, to which you referred to some of that. But like we have a young daughter who's a young adult daughter, and she's out sometimes till, all hours. And I grew up, as probably most of you did too, that it was the polite thing to leave the porch light on and, never know when it's coming home. But now there's like technology that you can actually get an app, and when she's either driving or in the Uber and she's getting close to the house, the porch lights will come on automatically. Like the technology is ramping up so fast that it can help to turn this thing around. There's just so much great technology. But also too, I just want to say, like, what, as residents of Nantucket, who, like some other people here tonight, are really suffering from light pollution, do we as residents, obviously people have the right to, to develop their properties and so forth, but like, what rights do we have as people who are suffering from light trespass or light pollution?
This is exactly, the question was, what rights do people have who are suffering from light pollution to do something about it? This is exactly why we have bylaws. And it's the same reason that we have noise pollution ordinances, so that you can't just run your lawnmower at, 3 o'clock in the morning. And it's the same thing with light. It's not okay. It's fine to, to light your own property. It's not okay to light all your neighbors' properties. And that's what
It sounds easy, but
the longer answer really is that it's about culture change, and that there is no single silver bullet. I have some silver bullets here. These are great, but it's not the crux of the problem. It's really about changing culture. And it takes years and a lot of effort from a lot of different people, which is exactly what's been happening here on Nantucket. I'm really happy to say Nantucket is leading in this way. Is it perfect? No, I showed pictures of lights that I think are not great in Nantucket, but it could be much worse. The sky is still beautiful, and it's going to get better. And I think that actually the culture is growing here in a way that is going to pay off big time in the long term. And there are plenty of other cities and towns and states and whole nations around the world that are also showing us this. The entire nation of New Zealand is applying to be a dark sky nation. And that has taken decades of work by dark sky advocates. So it is possible, but it just takes time and hard work from many different people.
Any other questions?
Maybe we should call it a night, and then I'm happy to talk more with you if you like individually. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, James.